His music transcends time. His genius redefined classical music. But who was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart really? Was he a prodigy, a misunderstood genius, or just a man caught in the turbulence of his time? Today, we dive into the fascinating life of Mozart. His rise, his struggles, his rivalries, his romantic life, and the mysteries surrounding his untimely death. Mozart was born on the 27th of January, 1756, in Salzburg, Austria, into a musical family. His father, Leopold, a renowned composer and musician himself, recognized his son's extraordinary talent at an early age. By the age of 5, young Wolfgang was already composing simple pieces, and by 6, he was performing across Europe. It seemed as though there was no limit to his potential. His childhood was marked by intense travel, performing for kings and emperors, and wowing audiences wherever he went. But with this early fame came a price. Mozart's youth was filled with pressure, constantly on the move, and burdened with the expectation to be perfect. In 1781, Mozart moved to Vienna, hoping to establish himself as an independent composer. He found early success with operas like The Abduction from the Seraglio and Don Giovanni, but his relationship with the aristocracy, and especially his financial struggles, was less than ideal. Despite his brilliant compositions, Mozart struggled with money, living in near poverty, often relying on patronage and commissions. His lavish lifestyle and constant need for funds became a strain, and he faced constant stress over his financial situation. Amidst his musical genius and personal struggles, Mozart's romantic life was as passionate as his compositions. In 1782, at the age of 26, Mozart married Constanze Weber, a beautiful soprano, much to the dismay of his father Leopold, who disapproved of the union. Despite his father's objections, the couple's bond was deep, and Constanze became a key figure in Mozart's later life. Many of Mozart's letters to Constanze show a tender and loving side, revealing his playful nature and deep affection for her. He would often write to her while on tour or during times of separation, and his letters are filled with endearing terms and heartfelt expressions. Constanze was also his muse, inspiring some of his later works, like his Piano Concerto No. 27. Together, they had 6 children, though only 2 survived infancy. Despite his busy and often stressful career, Mozart clearly found solace and support in Constanze, even as they faced difficult financial times. Sadly, Constanze's devotion wasn't enough to save Mozart from his ongoing struggles. Their marriage, like much of Mozart's life, was a mixture of joy and hardship, as Mozart continued to face personal and financial challenges. One of the most famous rivalries in music history is that between Mozart and Antonio Salieri, a respected composer at the imperial court in Vienna. The rivalry is often portrayed as a bitter and personal feud, fueled by jealousy and competition. While the exact nature of their rivalry is shrouded in mystery, it is known that Salieri was highly respected by the court, whereas Mozart was often seen as a rebellious, unpredictable genius. The tension between them has been romanticized, especially in the 1984 film Amadeus, which depicts Salieri as resentful of Mozart's prodigious talent. However, much of the rivalry we know today is likely embellished for dramatic effect. While Salieri might have been envious of Mozart's genius, there is little concrete evidence to suggest that he actively sabotaged Mozart's career. In fact, Salieri did offer Mozart praise and help during his life. Nevertheless, the image of the two composers locked in a bitter rivalry has endured, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. Despite his undeniable talent, Mozart's final years were marked by personal tragedy. In 1791, at the age of 35, his health began to deteriorate. Some believe his illness was a result of poisoning, possibly at the hands of Salieri, but the truth is far more complex. Modern historians suggest that Mozart may have suffered from rheumatic fever, kidney disease, or even a streptococcal infection, which caused his symptoms. Regardless of the cause, his rapid decline shocked those around him. His final compositions, including the Magic Flute and Requiem, were written during this tumultuous period. His last composition, the Requiem, is surrounded by mystery. A stranger had commissioned it for a secret purpose, and Mozart believed that he was writing the piece for his own death. Tragically, he died before completing it on the 5th of December, 1791. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was laid to rest in St. Mark's Cemetery in Vienna, but not in a grand tomb. Instead, he was buried in a common grave, which was customary for middle-class individuals at the time. The exact location of his remains is unknown, because common graves were periodically reused. However, a monument was later erected at St. Mark's Cemetery in his honor. Some myths suggest that Mozart died poor and was buried in a pauper's grave, but this is not entirely true. While he did struggle financially at times, he still earned a respectable income. His burial in a common grave was simply due to Viennese customs rather than extreme poverty or neglect. Though his life was brief and often filled with hardship, Mozart's music has lived on for centuries. His works have been performed in every corner of the world, and his influence on classical music is immeasurable. Was he misunderstood? Perhaps. But one thing is certain: Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart will always be remembered as one of the greatest musical geniuses the world has ever known. What are your thoughts on Mozart's life, his romantic relationships, and his legacy? Was he a misunderstood genius, or was his greatness simply too much for his time?